Hello, my name is Rebecca. I am preparing for a wushu competition this weekend, and I wanted to make a quick vlog, mostly to record for myself my thoughts and feelings ahead of time. I am also going to be practicing my makeup. So growing up, makeup was not really a skill that I picked up. I do want to make myself look presentable for competition, so I need to practice my skills. I may as well vlog at the same time. So for a lot of sports out there, the athletes keep pushing the ideal for what it means to be good at the sport. If the sport is about being fast, the athletes get faster. If it's about going high or lifting a lot of weight, over decades, the times go down, the weights go up, the flips keep getting bigger and twistier and more impressive. Wushu, on the other hand, has not seen such development. If you take some definition of what makes wushu good, for example, it is wu and shu, it is martial and art, it is fast, it is explosive, it is fierce, it is rhythmic, it is interesting to watch, it's a performance. And then you compare generally athletes from a couple decades ago and currently, a lot of people think that the general trend of the sport is becoming less wushu-like. Now, I'm absolutely not trying to make a statement about any particular athletes here. Nowadays, I think there are still many amazing athletes out there who I deeply respect and admire. I'm just saying that in general, the trend is not of the sport becoming a more ideal version of itself, like the same way that we see in other sports. Sprinters becoming faster and powerlifters lifting more weight. And I think in tandem with this trend, a lot of people, at least from my perspective here in the States, a lot of people are kind of losing interest. Competitions that used to be a big deal, drawing a lot of attention from athletes and spectators, in recent years just have been a little bit more lackluster. And I mean, who can blame anyone for not liking a sport that doesn't necessarily work? And by work, I mean, does winning mean that you're good? Does winning mean that you're the best? Now, I want to be really clear here. The last thing that I'm trying to do is give anybody else advice on how to make sense of their wushu situation or solve wushu or really do anything other than just express my thoughts and feelings as somebody who's trying to become a high-level athlete. In my personal experience, it feels like there's kind of tension between two extremes. On one extreme, you have go for what is the most wushu of wushu, the most, exciting, explosive performance that you can do that's probably high risk and may not be compensated in the score. Oof, that's dark. Alternatively, you can just focus on the rules and do the minimal amount to not get deductions to check all of the boxes, which will give you a lot more dependable score, but arguably loses a lot of heart and also helps the sport kind of trend in a direction that a lot of people don't like where it's going. I think it's a little bit different if you're already a high-level athlete where you don't have to worry about just having the required moves and not getting deductions. You can really focus on bringing out what makes your wushu your own and really honing in on your strengths and showing people through an exciting performance. But, oh dear, this is hard. But if you are a not as high-level athlete like myself, sorry I had to take a little break and do my eyeliner. My personal experience as a not super high-level athlete, I've kind of run into a conundrum. And that conundrum is that a lot of the time, in order to make an optional form more competitive, I've had to actually take out as much wushu as possible. I ran into this problem when I was living and training in China in 2019. At that time, I had about 4 years of experience in the sport, and I was trying to compete in an elite level competition and put together my own changchuan form. And people with kind intentions who were trying to help me would say things like, don't do that move, it's very clear you don't know what you're doing, or don't do that move, people will laugh at you, or they would just go ahead and laugh at me, not in a mean way, just because the wushu was poor and it was unfortunately funny. In the end, I ended up putting in a round-off back handspring to my form. A lot of athletes do this, mostly to display their power and athleticism and explosiveness, but for me, we put it in because we got to section 3 of choreographing and all of the wushu moves that I could do that looked good, we'd already put in the form multiple times. By the time we were at section 3, we were all out of moves, and so we just used whatever we had left, which was my gymnastics preparation that I'd done before becoming a wushu athlete. And don't get me wrong, I was really happy with how that competition turned out. I was really proud of myself for being able to stand on my own in a ring full of much more experienced competitors, but it definitely left kind of a funny taste in my mouth. And the takeaway that in order for me at that skill level to do well in optional competition, I had to get creative, but not get creative in a way of like, oh, let's get wushu creative and like do something fun and exciting, but get creative in doing as little wushu as possible to avoid deductions and just get through a form. I didn't love that. I am going to go on a quick tangent here. So I think, it's not perfect. I'm going to go on a quick tangent here and talk about a very relevant and potentially the best slumber party movie of the mid-2000s. Stick It, the 2006 gymnastics comedy. If you were a young gymnast at the time, you know what I'm talking about. One of the major plot points of the movie is that the gymnasts are fed up with being deducted for minor errors, silly things, despite doing these incredible, super impressive, very difficult moves.
It doesn't matter how hard we run or how high we flip. It's how well we follow their rules.
Anyway, resolution spoilers. The gymnasts end up selectively scratching or not doing their events, and so that the only person who does their event wins by default. Effectively, the gymnasts are choosing the winner, not the judges or the scoring system. It's the people in the arena who know what's hard, what's difficult, what's deserving. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not suggesting anything about what we should do in wushu. The analogy isn't perfect, this is just a fun movie, but it did help me realize that for me to feel like a winner in this sport, for me to feel like I've really won, I want my wushu, my art, to be appreciated by people who appreciate wushu. I want, regardless of some competition score or outcome, I want people who see it, I want people to see it, to collectively agree that damn, that was badass. Okay, Stick It tangent over, back to the present. So it's been 2 years since competing in Korea. In that time, I've really been trying to work myself out of the conundrum of that tension between trying to do good, exciting wushu and just trying to follow the rules. And I've been doing that by trying to improve my basics, trying to build a foundation. I ended up signing up for this competition, doing the compulsory forms. And this decision confused a lot of people, I think, because to them it looks like a step down. Nowadays, compulsory forms are mostly done by kids, by teenagers, by children. They're thought of as the intermediate forms. It kind of looks like, oh, Rebecca, are you sandbagging here? These forms are for kids. Rebecca, I think it's time you should start developing your personal style. But I really wanted to take the opportunity that I think the forms present to improve my foundational skills in wushu. So my perspective is this. The fundamental prototype of like getting better at wushu starts with like having some idea of what a movement is. And then you practice that movement, and then you get some feedback either from watching your own videos or from a coach or from a fellow athlete on how what you're doing or how you understand the move to be is incorrect. And so you update that information, you keep practicing, you keep practicing, you keep practicing, and then you get some more feedback, and then you update your understanding again, and then you keep practicing, and then you repeat that cycle over and over and over, every practice, every day for many, many years, and then eventually your wushu gets better. And I wanted to do this with the compulsory forms specifically because when you go through this cycle working on your optional forms and you run into a movement that doesn't look right, you can just change the movement, right? Say like, oh, this doesn't look good on me, I'm gonna switch it out for something that suits me better. But with the compulsory forms, you just can't do that. And so having that constraint in place like forces you to stay in that cycle and really work on those movements. And I thought that that was important, especially because I see a lot of the movements in these forms as foundational to other movements as wushu gets more complex and more exciting. So yeah, that's what I've been trying to do for the past while. Obviously, there are big downsides to working on the compulsories as adults. For example, it does look like fun to come up with all of your own stuff and really begin to find what suits you and what doesn't suit you and develop a personal style. People have like tried to convince me like, Rebecca, like it would be fun, and I believe you, and I hope that it is, and I'm looking forward to that. And I plan to have time for that in my wushu career. And I hope that when I get there, I will be able to do it better because of the core principles that I have ingrained in my wushu system ahead of time. That's my hope. I don't know. Another downside is that with the compulsories, I don't think there are that many other adults who look at it the same way as me. And so I'm gonna go to competition, and I don't know if/how many people there will be in my categories. to be honest, like in that circumstance where there aren't many people or no one, I still do want to win, but it does make me sad that the meaning of winning, like does winning mean that you're better than anybody or that you had the highest quality amongst some group of people? I can't control what that winning means. I can't control, maybe national champion will be an empty title. I can't control that, and that's too bad. But I can control my preparation up to the competition, my sleep and my nutrition. I can control my training volume so that I'm trying to peak at the right time. Yeah, and so that's what I'll focus on. I wish that I had started wushu as a kid, but I did not. I never had like a wushu childhood. And so I guess I kind of see this competition as like my own junior worlds. It is a chance to prepare these particular forms, to build up my foundation as an athlete. It is a chance to practice competing and practice preparing to compete. And though this is a big accumulation of work that I do want to celebrate and will cherish no matter what the outcome is, this is not the end game, and the best is yet to come. Thank you for watching this video. I'm very surprised that you made it all the way through to the end. Thank you. By the time I will be posting this, I will already have competed, so if you want to know how it went, stay tuned to this channel. You can also follow me on Instagram at @rebswushu. And yeah, thanks for watching.